happens when a policy or a law of the national government comes into conflict with a law of a state or local government? How are those conflicts regulated? Which government's likely going to win? The Supremacy Clause. That takes us back to a provision that we talked about earlier. The Constitution provides that most of these kinds of disputes be regulated, as we said, under the mechanism found in Article 6, known as the Supremacy Clause, which for the most part, regulates these types of conflicts in the favor of the national government. So the Supremacy Clause of Article 6 defines the supreme law of the land. And it defines the supreme law of the land as consisting of three elements, as consisting of three components. First of all, it says the supreme law of the land consists of the United States Constitution. Second, it also consists of treaties of the United States, the national treaty agreements that we reach with other countries. And third, it consists of national laws. And that whenever any portion of a state law, whenever any portion of a state constitution comes into conflict with one of these three elements, that portion of the state law, that portion of the state constitution is invalid if the national government is acting within its proper scope. And Article 6 goes on to say, the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. In other words, even you state court judges sitting on your state court benches getting your state paychecks have to recognize the supremacy of national law when the national government's acting in its proper scope. And we've seen instances like U.S. versus Lopez already, right, where the court said, well, that's not your proper scope. This Supremacy Clause serves as the basis. This Supremacy Clause then serves as the foundation for our final category of constitutional powers, and these are the peremptory powers. These are the peremptory powers. And the peremptory powers consist of, well, what I just said. That under the Supremacy Clause of Article 6, when the national government acts in its proper scope, that national laws and actions supersede, that national laws and actions take precedence over those of state and local governments. So, the Constitution provides this framework to regulate conflicts between the national government and the states, but what if the conflict is not between a policy of the national government and the states? What if instead the conflict is between the policies of two different states? We saw the founders establish mechanisms to do that, right? Where do we find in the Constitution the mechanisms that regulate relationships between the states? We find them in Article 4 of the Constitution. Article 4, Section 1 contains the full faith and credit clause. And what the full faith and credit clause does, and how the full faith and credit clause operates in application, we will have to remind ourselves after we take it. All right? Have a wonderful break. Be safe. When you return,